Hello everyone. As part of our NCERT series, we are going to discuss 6th class history. That is our past 1. In that, we are going to discuss second chapter, from hunting, gathering to growing food. In that, if we look at that chapter, so we are going to look at the prehistoric age of Indian subcontinent. People lived in the Indian subcontinent 2 million years ago. That means 20 lakh years ago, people lived here. We describe them as hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers are two different terms. What it indicates? It indicates hunter means the people hunted animals. They caught fish and birds. Gatherers. What it indicates? People gathered fruits. They gathered roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, and also eggs. See, hunting and gathering, these two are not that easy. Generally, one should be alert and quick and should have lots of presence of mind while hunting animal, because animals are quick and they are wild. Animals are huge. And while gathering food, one should know the seasons when the fruit is going to ripe. And another thing is, one should know whether that is a particular fruit is edible. That means a particular part of a plant is edible or not, or whether it is poisonous. This is how the people started gathering, and even they hunted animals. People used to move from one place to another place, because while hunting and gathering, it is everywhere, nature has its limitations. And even if they depend on one particular animal or one particular plant, after some time, our animal may not available in plenty. So the people started moving from one place to another place in search of their food. And even if you look at animals, even animals started moving from one place to another place in search of prey, because if it is a tiger, if it is a wild animal, so they move from one place to another place in search of their prey. And if you look at the plants also, like depending upon the season, the fruits ripen. So people generally move from one place to another place depending upon the season. And if you take all together at once, that means people, plants and animals, all these survive. Okay, for their survival, they need water. So that means wherever rivers and lakes are there, so the people used to stay there. So this is how during prehistoric times, people started moving from one place to another place. If you look at some other important aspects while hunting and gathering, people used different types of stones. Generally, study of past is known as archaeology. People who are involved in this archaeology or archaeologists, what they do? They usually study the past based upon rocks, that means stones, and also various structures which were located in the ground. That means usually stone tools were made and used by prehistoric people. So the entire stretch, the archaeologists named this entire geological time as Paleolithic. Okay, from 20 lakh years to 12,000 years. Okay, so from the present, if we go back to 20 lakh years and 12,000 years, so this entire period has been named as Paleolithic period. So again, this entire Paleolithic has been divided into three different parts, that is Lower Paleolithic, Middle Paleolithic and Upper Paleolithic. So if you take from 20 lakh to till today, the entire time, if you make it into a documentary of 1 hour documentary, so this Paleolithic would be 59 minutes documentary. So from 12,000 years to till date, okay, present day, it covers only 1 minute documentary. It covers only 1 minute in that entire documentary. So from 12,000 years to 10,000 years ago. So this period has been named as Mesolithic, and from 10,000 it is Neolithic. So we can easily demarcate this period based upon the tools people they made and used these tools, and they made up of, those tools were made up of stone, bones and even wood. But stone tools were survived, and in Paleolithic those stone tools were huge and large one. Those stone tools were not very well polished and not even sharp. So what did they use? Like people started using these stone tools to cut meat and also bone. They used these stone tools to chop off fruits as well as roots. They even they used it for scraping hides as well as bark. So this is about Paleolithic. I'll show you the picture how these stone tools were huge, large, and these stone tools belong to Paleolithic age. And now you look at this one, these are a small when compared with Paleolithic stone tools. So these stone tools were made during Mesolithic age. So that's why these stone tools were so small, we call this age as Microlithic age. It is not only Mesolithic, even Microlithic. After 10,000 years, okay, so this is between 12,000 years to 10,000 years ago. So after 10,000 years, we call that period age as Neolithic because tools were completely polished and very fine cutting, you could see it. So how did they manage to get this kind of shapes? They generally follow two different types of techniques. They used to take two tools. One they used to keep it in one hand, another one in another hand. They used this tool as a hammer. They used to scrap flakes. They remove flakes till they get the required shape. They remove these flakes. And another technique they followed was they placed a stone or bone on a firm surface, and they used another stone by removing those flakes till they get the required shape. This is how they followed. But if you look at this one, so this is clearly understandable that these microliths, stone tools, were they used handles. Okay, they fixed it with handles while using these tools. So after fixing handles, they could use those tools as a spears and also arrows. This is how they made different stone tools. So generally, look at these Kurnool caves and Hunski and Bhimbetka. In all over Indian subcontinent, you could find many hunter-gatherer sites. Okay, so those hunter-gatherer sites are generally located near to water bodies. And the prehistoric people, Paleolithic people, they searched for places where a good quality of stone is available, because they wanted to make various tools. And sometimes they used to live in that location. So that's why we call that places as habitation cum factory sites, because they are making tools in those sites. Because of that reason, we call those sites as factory sites. And people generally live in that location for a long period of time. That's why we call it as habitation cum factory sites. And another most important thing is, these are the places people lived in these caves. And in these caves, suppose take the example of Bhimbetka. This is the best example. In these natural caves are having Paleolithic painting as well as Mesolithic paintings. And the people lived in these caves drew various diagrams. And that clearly indicates the type of what kind of animals they are hunting. And even people started observing something here. What it is? After 12,000 years, slowly the entire climate started changing. What happened due to the change in the climate? Slowly, the warm conditions relatively came into being. So the warm conditions made such a condition, these warm conditions led to the development of grasslands. What happened because of the development of these grasslands? Grass-eating animals such as deer, sheep, goat, cattle, then their number got increased. Once the number got increased and the people started hunting those animals, generally those animals were gentle. So people started observing grains. Those grains were wheat, barley, rice, etc. And these grains generally fell on the ground, and later these grains were developed into plants. Once they observed it clearly, they started gathering these grains and using it as a food. and they started protecting these grasses, these plants from animals and birds. And even they started observing animals, their food habits, and also their breeding seasons. And they started taming animals. The first animal to be tamed was wild ancestor of the dog. And what happened after observing all these things? People started understanding the growing season of a particular plant. So they observed that one particular seed could sprout into a plant. It takes few days to few years to grow into a plant, and the fruits may ripen, and it may give grains. In that situation, people started living at one place till they get the grain or till they get the fruit. So naturally, they started living at one place for a long time. And they started protecting that plant from animals and birds. This is how people became farmers. And even they started domesticating animals, that means rearing of animals, because they started observing those animals that were gentle, and they started keeping food for them near their caves. And they started attracting those animals. If you look at various places in the Indian subcontinent, different layers are having different bones. Suppose if you look at the initial layers of any particular place, such as Mehrgarh, Chiran, all these places. So Mehrgarh, this was the first place where domestication of animals and settled agriculture, and we can say that this was the first village in the Indian subcontinent. This is a Neolithic site, and this place is located on the fertile plains, and it is located near Bolan Pass. This Bolan Pass is a route which leads into Iran. And here one could notice various grains such as wheat and barley. And initial layers, you could see different bones. So what are those? Bones belong to sheep, goat, cattle, etc. And if you look at Chiran is a place where you could see buffalo and ox bones. And also you could see other important grains such as wheat, barley. And Koldiva and Mehrgarh, these are some other important places where rice cultivation occurred, because grains of rice were found here. And these are the places you could see. At Mehrgarh, you could see hoof marks. Okay, that means footprints of an animal. And also look at these places, Payampalli, Hallur. And these are some other important places where you could see millets, black gram, sheep, cattle, goat, all these bones you could find it. Look at this Burjahan. So this is the place you could see some pit dwellings, pit dwelling. So this is the surface of the ground, okay, surface, and you could see some small opening. That opening leads to a deep pit inside. So this pit is having some staircases. These staircases will lead to the bottom of that pit. And in this location, you could even see the bones of dog along with other bones. So this is special for dog. And if you look at, you could see some huts where those huts were rectangular or square shape. So those things would definitely have some compartments. So those compartments were used to live and also used to store food. And people started domesticating animals because those animals were giving milk, that is a source of food. And also those animals are providing meat whenever they required. That means rearing of animals means they are storing their food. Also, whenever they try to get grains, and they started thinking to store it, because those grains could be utilized as a food as well as seeds. And that's the reason they started thinking about the pots, earthen pots. They started making earthen pots to store this food. And later on, they started cooking it. If you look at Kurnool region, in Kurnool, you could see some ash mounds. So what it indicates? It indicates people were aware of fire. What was the use of fire? Then people started cooking meat. Fire itself is a source of light. And even they used fire to scare away animals. And if you look at this Burjaham, Mehrgarh, all these places are Neolithic sites. And look at this Daojali Hadding. This is also another important Neolithic site located in Brahmaputra Valley region. So this is the place where it leads to Myanmar. This route leads to Myanmar and even to China region. Hallur is located in Karnataka region. Payampalli, this is located in Tamil Nadu region. This is all about from hunting, gathering to growing food. Thank you so much.